Hi, I'm Tanya Williams from Digital Conversations, and welcome to Having Digital Conversations. In today's interview, I'm talking with Chris Tyquin, Managing Director of GOA. GOA is a family-owned business which started in 1983 out of a small shed in Bowen Hills, and they've come a long way in the last 32 years. We're taking a different angle today with Having Digital Conversations and talking to a successful brand who is offering both a traditional and digital product. So today I'm going to chat to Chris about how the move from traditional billboard to digital, how that's impacted on the company growth, and how his team is using the two to create effective campaigns for clients, or as I like to call it, using digital marketing. Hey Chris, how are you?
Very good, thanks Tanya, very good.
Thank you for taking the time to chat to us today. So I'd love to sort of start talking to you about when did you guys recognise the growth that digital out of home was happening in the marketplace?
The growth to begin, or the
when did you say there's an opportunity here for us that we want to get involved in?
We probably saw it as a potential in the late 90s. We really got stuck into it about 2005 because up until then the technology was around, but it was incredibly expensive, and it really wasn't that reliable, and because of expense, wasn't financially viable. So we began in earnest about late 2005, early 2006.
Yep. So how did you guys sort of start to implement into that into the business model?
We ran a business. We ran a couple of business plans on it. In each case, you sort of suck and see because you're leaping into the unknown about what sort of return you can generate. And we needed clients paying a lot more money than they had been, and to make it work. And for us, that was a case of really suck and see. We were never going to know until we got the first few out of the ground. So a few $1 million went into that, and at that stage, of course, we were all thinking, well, this still may not work. And there was a lot of obstacles to overcome initially. The local planning laws with local government. It took us 2 years of work from 2007 to 2009 with the bureaucrats to get their minds around it. A lot of pushback. No sooner had we built the first one than no sooner had we got the first one out of the ground than the state government's main roads department issued a total prohibition on the technology on state-controlled roads. So we spent the next 2 years working with them. So it's been a long journey.
So you guys have really pioneered the whole digital signage industry, particularly in Brisbane, because I mean, people know about what you guys are doing, but it's really sort of been the pioneer to and all these other companies are starting to pop up now, I suppose.
Well, the first one started. I think we commissioned it in October 2009, and we very quickly got a network of them up. It's actually the first networked screen billboard network around in any cap city, and it is also probably the largest as from what I can see looking around the rest of Australia. So that to me has been one part of it. The other part has been the recent, which we'll talk about I suppose in a moment, but what's happening with the technology on how it can be used from an advertiser's perspective. So and of course at the same time as that conversation's going on, we're also seeing fantastic improvements in the screen resolution, and the prices are coming down around that too. So lots of opportunity there.
Awesome. So how have you found clients have been in terms of adopting the technology? Were they embracing it from the start, or it took them a while to sort of get their head around how to utilise it?
It's been a lot slower than I would have hoped. And we're really fortunate at first. I'm forever grateful to Channel 7 and to McDonald's of all companies who were two of our largest founding clients who came on board, and here we are we're going to 6 years later, and they're still amongst our biggest clients using that network. So it's proof that it obviously works, so they wouldn't come back. That gave us the confidence to keep going with it. But the take-up has been a lot slower. I think a lot of the ad agencies have really struggled with it to get their minds around it, and then in terms of trying to communicate that to their clients, we're actually finding now we're having to work directly with the clients to get them to really understand it rather than doing Chinese whispers through an ad agency. And then having to demonstrate it through other campaigns that we've done to show this is what the possibilities are like. And they slowly start to get it. But it's not easy, it's a real battle because there's a bit of work involved. I mean, every advertiser talks about wanting genuine engagement. It's there, and it's a very realistic thing you can do now. But there's a bit of work in it.
Yeah, if it's easy, then everyone's going to be doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't see how that opportunity may work for them. So there's a bit of that education that's due to go. And I also think that, you know, for for digital in large format billboards to really thrive, big retailers need to come on. And take full advantage of what's available with the digital technology as far as regular copy changes and which allows them to take what would have been their letterbox catalogue and feature that whole catalogue on a series of screen networks around the marketplace. So that's all there now. It's just a case of getting them to feel comfortable with it enough to do it.
Yeah, okay. So you guys have obviously identified a very, I suppose, high growth area. What's your vision for, I suppose, where you see the most growth with outdoor, digital outdoor?
Premium locations.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting to look at our business today. Our inventory in numbers is a third smaller than it was. There's a rationalisation that we embarked on very early on with our traditional plant to offload what you might call the bottom performers, those locations that don't enjoy a big audience or don't have a great presence when they're viewed from the street. So, and we'll still do a bit more culling, and that seems to be a bit of a global trend. So you'll see a rationalisation of plants occurring. Yeah. The single biggest challenge the industry's got, to be frank, is not the success of digital. It's actually the cannibalisation of their traditional billboard plants and how that gets managed. And I sit on our industry board, the Outdoor Media Association, and I said to the directors at a meeting before Christmas that if we as an industry don't collectively grow demand, then we will have failed in what is the greatest growth opportunity that the industry's ever been presented with. So the industry, to their absolute credit, is doing a lot of work there.
Yeah.
So it's imperative that if there's the opportunity to grow by 20% a year as an industry, then we've got to have more clients coming in, spending 20% more, and otherwise we're just going to continue to cannibalise the inventories that we have.
Obviously, it's all about getting more market share, not just taking market share from one place that's already got it and cannibalising.
Yeah.
So you talk about on your website about pioneering high impact customer engagement. How does digital allow you to do this versus what you're doing from a traditional billboard point of view?
Yeah. Okay. So what we're now seeing is sort of the exciting area in the development of how we can engage, particularly with our audiences. And we've run a couple of campaigns that you can check on our website and have a look at them. They're in 60-second or so videos just to explain how they work, where we actually get the passing audience to start engaging with the campaign via the client's social network platforms.
Yep.
And that, to me, is true engagement. I mean, I talk to some advertising agency people about engagement, and we all have different definitions, but to me, true engagement would be for a member of the audience who's seen it, goes online to their website or their social media pages and then communicates about the campaign. Genuine two-way communication. So the great thing about it is in the campaigns that we've been trialling, the response rate's been incredibly encouraging. I mean, we're seeing for each person that does engage, then the share rate or the amplification rate, as it's now getting called, is something like 300-fold. So wow. You just need one to get 300.
Yeah.
And that's a way of sort of, and in the overall scheme of things, the cost of it's not that great. But you can take your campaign from being at base level, what you would normally do, and expose it to a whole lot of people that would otherwise never see it. So it's a bit of a free kick in a way.
Yeah, oh, awesome. I love the sound of it. And I know from driving around and seeing what you guys are doing and how you guys are utilising those screens, it's really exciting to see someone doing something that's a little bit different and outside the box as well. So given that you have such a big traditional billboard platform, and obviously now with the introduction of digital, what importance do you place on the two internally as a business? Do you see one as being more important than the other, or you see them as very much working together?
No, I think they're very different to each other.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a case in point about how they can be used. And this is not a case of saying that every campaign should be a combination of traditional versus traditional and digital. The example I give you, if I'm a small business person and I've got a customer catchment area that might involve say half a dozen suburbs on the north side of Brisbane, and I've got a brand name or a business name that's really got no great notoriety or brand recognition about it, and all I want to do is get my name up in front of people, then you'd be silly to go on digital. You'd be silly to pay the premium to go on digital. Really what you need to do is get a traditional billboard and just get your name up there so that it's out there.
Local catchment area.
It's up there all day, every day. So traditional can do that. Digital can't.
Yeah.
the opportunities around digital is, and as I say to clients, if all you're going to do is go up there and run the same ad that you ran on your traditional board, please don't use our network, because you're actually undermining what we're trying to do. You know, we have people that actively drive past our screens today, and we'll look out for them because they're looking to be entertained and informed. And we really work hard on those two areas to make sure that if we don't have it sold, we start to look at ways of keeping people informed and or entertained.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a case of horse for course, depending on the circumstances.
So what platform is the right for the customer and what they're trying to achieve basically is where you will guide them
will
through.
determine what format they will use.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, how did you find it, your team actually accepted digital when you introduced it? Was there a bit of pushback and going, oh, no, this is new, we don't want to do it, or were they embracing this new product? Like, how did you find that process?
I think there was a bit of pushback with the price at first, and then it's the old story with salespeople. You know, if anybody's got a sales team knows, you know, they all want the new shiny thing they can take to market. So, that it overwhelmed what the price of it was, and then once one or two of our good operators managed to get some pretty big contracts away at the rates that we needed to make it work. That provided the believability around it, and away it went from there. So it wasn't an issue. If anything, what we've got is now this expectation internally, whereas, you know, so what's next? Yeah. So we actively work on having a market release of something new every quarter to 6 months now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
New and shiny.
Yeah, I mean, we all love new and shiny, don't we? So do you find that, that given that you've got both sort of platforms, a traditional and a digital platform, that using them together is what's getting you the most effective results for clients, or again, it all depends on what's right?
Again, it all depends on what's right. I mean, I've got some wonderful case studies of success stories from people who've just used traditional static, and I've got some great campaigns around just using digital. What we don't actually have is somebody who's used both. You know,
really?
Well, I've never run it. Sorry, I don't. When I say we haven't got clients doing both, is I haven't had a case study around it. We do have clients that do both, and probably the best example I can give you is the Brisbane Festival. Every city these days seems to have a festival. They'll use the traditional product to as a date claimer to promote the brand name of the festival and when it's on. Then we'll use the screen network to promote the various. They've got over 100 shows scheduled to run. And we know it does work for them because we had one show which was sold out. They couldn't get the new artwork to us in time. We got our graphic artist just to put a banner across this particular show that was sold out whilst we waited a few hours for the new artwork to arrive. And the calls into the ticket office actually increased off the back of that. And there must have been people driving past realising, gee, I've missed out on that, having a bit of FOMO, I suppose. I've missed out here, I better get onto the ticket office and start booking what shows I want to see during Brisbane Festival. So they use it very well in that sense. And they're using it for the way it should be used. And they would be changing their ad copy every day. To keep it fresh.
Yeah, obviously they're using it in a strategic way, which is what they should be doing. Tell me more about how the social media ties in with that, because I know you guys have the ability to pull social media feeds and that sort of thing. How are clients actually using that now? Well,
we launched we call it GOA Connect. We launched that about 6 months ago. Again, there's a 60-second video on our website that explains it. But the whole notion, as I was saying to you earlier, was about this opportunity to amplify what I'm doing out there in the streets online. You know, I'm taking something above the line, below the line, and to a far greater audience. And the challenge from an advertiser's perspective is to make sure what they're doing is both informative and entertaining to get the public to want to engage in the campaign. So it's a lot of fun when it's done. We've done half a dozen campaigns I'm delighted to talk about, and it's truly extraordinary what you start to see when you jump on Instagram to look at, you know, you start a campaign at 5 a.m. in the morning, and by 10 a.m. you can start to see what's happening on social media platforms. It's quite extraordinary. And then you just keep following it hour to hour. So it's interesting.
The beauty of digital in real time, you know. That's
the interesting thing is in the context of media buying, traditional billboards have always been seen as a slow burn. You know, the uptake or the reaction they may have in the marketplace has always been a bit slower than, say, television. Television was always seen as the medium for immediacy. And what we've been seeing with digital is this. It's all of a sudden we're being seen as being capable of driving immediacy. So, the opportunity for Channel 7 to run the Twitter feeds from My Kitchen Rules directly onto the network and have it up within 60 or 120 seconds is there now, and it's not that hard. It's an automatic feed straight through.
Yeah.
The ability for a travel agent to say to their customers, "We're sending you on this holiday. Send us a pic from your favourite spot and we'll put it up on a screen." The billboard GOA's grid network, which gets seen by something like 400,000 people a day now, we'll have it up there within an hour.
Yeah.
And that happens all automatically. There's no, once it's all set up and we've built the framework for that to occur, there's nothing really for the client to do. All they've got to do is just manually moderate it, which you can do quite quickly. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to do that.
Yeah.
But you can do quite quickly, but it just automatically all happens. So and what we're seeing is the public want this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's that opportunity of getting their 15 minutes of fame.
I think people will typically embrace things that are a little bit different as well. So they're looking for ways to engage with brands, and brands that are using it, as you said, are starting to see results from it, which obviously was what it's all about.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what's probably been the biggest challenge that you guys have faced in terms of bringing this digital network in and managing that obviously across the business? Like, what's been a couple of the big challenges that you've had?
Getting the first one out of the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we were really apprehensive. I talked about earlier about the costs of doing it, and we couldn't afford the American products because it was so expensive, which really put us in a situation where we had to look to China. There were a lot of, as everybody has, concerns about dealing with Chinese
and quality and all that stuff.
We're really lucky. A contact within Brisbane City Council helped put us in touch with some guys who actually turned out were translators and electronic engineers for Sony. They consulted to Sony. So we actually spent 2 weeks on the ground in China going through various plants, and we're able to identify who we should be dealing with. And that for us was a real breakthrough. But until we had that sorted, we were in a bit of trouble as to whose screens would be running. And then the permits associated with it, and that is still a battle today. I'm working on a new screen which will actually probably be the largest in Brisbane. Now, we've been talking about that since about 2008.
Wow.
So the lead-in times can be huge.
Yeah,
that's an extreme
crazy.
of it.
Yeah.
Others we've been talking about, to be frank, at least 6 months.
Yeah.
So these, people think these things are going to bob up all over town. They won't. There's a lengthy process, a very expensive process to go through to get them approved and then get them out of the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some work with that sort of technology, and there's no doubt it's an amazing technology. But the prices can vary greatly between suppliers and quality and resolutions and all of that sort of stuff is how long's a piece of string, I suppose. Yeah.
And look, and the other one took which is the elephant in the room that no one talks about, particularly from the manufacturer side, is everybody perceives an LED screen will last 10 years. Most of them they'll last 10,000 hours. Well, what no one talks about is the brightness degradation that occurs. So we've got a program of switching our screens out every 3 to 5 years, which requires additional capital, which is one of the reasons you have to ask for the advertisers to invest the money they need to advertise, because the ongoing costs are substantial. So it's an increase. The stakes are up on all fronts. So. You've got to be ready for it. And of course, the great thing, is replacing the screens is our screen resolution improves each time. So, where we are today, where we were 5 years ago, we've probably got our screen resolutions about 50% better. Yeah. Great.
Awesome. So, Chris, what other sort of technologies are starting to impact, or do you see that there's maybe opportunity with that maybe are a complementary product to what you're doing from a digital signage point of view?
Yeah, I was just saying earlier, there's a lot of technology looking for a solution out there, and it's a matter about finding what's the most relevant. I read a lot and see a lot about facial recognition software. Now, we run webcams, high-res webcams on all of our screens, and we also look back at the passing public. And I can just tell you, trying to do facial recognition on people that drive past a billboard is it will be near impossible. The glare off the windscreens and the speed at which they go past is obviously the two factors that are going to make it limiting. I think the other thing just on that is also going to be a looming backlash coming from the public. I mean, at some point when the public start to realise how they're being tracked, and to the extent to which they're being tracked, there will be a backlash, and they will want to know exactly what's happening and what's not happening.
Do you think that it extends to things like beacons and those sorts of new technologies?
Yeah, I think, look, the beacons thing is great. We looked at that, and I think it's good if you're in a shopping centre environment, if you've got maybe you've got a bus shelter, but people don't sort of, stand at a billboard. They drive past it. So, and the beacon stuff, from what we could see, operates on a pretty tight proximity transmission. So for us, there were limits that we could see there.
Yeah.
So we discounted that one. That technology may evolve further where it can be relevant.
Yeah.
But if you're relying on people to opt in, you've got to have a pretty persuasive argument to them in some way about getting them to opt in.
Yeah.
So that all brings you back to, right, I got this technology, now how do I get the people involved with it? So that's probably where the biggest challenge lies. So, so that's really our approach with it. We generally, as I said to you, we look for the technology that's the most relevant. I will also tell you, I don't know what we'll be doing in a year's time. GOA Connect was launched 6 months ago. A year prior to that, it wasn't even on a radar.
Okay. So did it just evolve
It
naturally
evolved.
out of the product?
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about this also. We've got a culture here where there's a great mix of young ones and old ones. We actively try to bring one or two university graduates in each year. We're very picky about who we bring in, but I'm really conscious of making sure they have a voice internally. I'm in my 50s. Our chairman's in his late 70s. We know our limitations around technology and getting an understanding, let alone embracing it, is another thing. So it's pretty important to us that we've got other people in different demographics that'll have a completely different knowledge and use it.
Yeah. And maybe a fresh take on.
Exactly. So a lot of this sort of stuff actually will come from the younger ones internally here. So it's I really actively try to encourage the ideas being shared up and down to ensure that if it is a possibility, let's explore it further. And then what we tend to do is get the idea and just let it percolate over several months, and then it's sort of what it ends up being is immensely better and probably bigger than what it would have been if we just rushed straight into the market with it.
I suppose that leads to the question about the culture within GOA and the staff and how you guys encourage innovation and outside the box thinking of ways that you can integrate new things into existing product base. Is there a strategy behind that, or do you guys sort of let that naturally sort of evolve?
It's funny. I was asked by I think it was the chair of Family Business Australia about relevant to this digital screen network and the investment required, and he said, "Have you ever thought about why your competitors have taken so long to catch up with you?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I ask that myself every day." And he says, "Because you knew, either you knew or you subconsciously knew, that you wouldn't get the sack if it failed." And he was actually talking about the one of the great positives that a family business has is that preparedness to take risks that a lot of bigger business aren't. And it's funny, we talk about this internally a lot, is it's easy to talk about having an innovative culture in an organisation. Talking about it's one thing, but actually having it's another thing. So I regularly say I make sure I regularly talk to my marketing people who and our product development people, and we talk about a preparedness to fail. We've got to acknowledge that in the journey to get from A to B, we're going to have failures along the way. And there's that wonderful, often misquoted about Edison, who invented the reliable light bulb. What was it on the? Took 1,000 attempts to get it there.
Yeah.
But if your boss had approached you to do something new and unique, and you came back and said, "Yeah, I can do it, but I'm going to fail 999 times before I get it right," what do you think their reaction's going to be? And sadly, I think for a lot of business, certainly in Australia, is that they don't seem to have the time nor the appetite for failure. And
they want it now and they want it to
exactly that. And we talked about earlier about this journey that we've been on that really started, now 10 years ago, and it was 4 years before we saw the first one come to fruition. Yeah. So there's got to be that preparedness to be in it for the long haul. You've got to be prepared for failure, and you've got to tell your staff, I expect failure. I expect something to fail along the way, or if it doesn't fail, what do we learn from it? What do we learn from it? Because the old story, which I say to my kids and the staff, is It's not what you did wrong, it's what you do next that counts. So we've got to learn from it and learn and apply that knowledge, that's called experience, into what we do next. So that's in part really what helped us get where we are, is that preparedness to fail and also encourage everybody to have a contribution if they've got an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach, and it's refreshing to see, a brand like you guys, take that on and say this is how we're going to, get our staff involved and embrace what we're doing moving forward, rather than sort of dictating from top down. If that makes sense. So tell me, what does the next 12 months look like for GOA?
In the context of what?
Of the company overall, like what do you see as the whether it's new products you're going to be launching, like what does that next 12 months look like?
We've got a couple of things in the pipeline. We'll always have 2 or 3 things in the pipeline, and they can take 6, 12 months to gestate.
Yeah.
We'll develop them. I can't tell you what I've got coming, but I will tell you this is you'll have to watch this space, as they say, but it will involve giving people their 15 minutes of fame.
Okay, sounds interesting.
It's interesting too, because it's relevant to that creative thinking. Is that we were away with offsite with our sales and marketing team everybody out of Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, and I was trying to think of creating an environment to really get some creative thinking, especially given I had university graduates there.
Yep.
I wanted them to feel comfortable that they could make speak up, that they weren't that people weren't going to sit in the room and wait for the old grey heads or no heads to speak. And lead the conversation. So I took them to lunch and got them on the piss for the afternoon. So it was it was an old-fashioned solution to a new age opportunity. So and that's a lot of for us. It's about making sure that the environment's as good as the culture is. Every so often you've got to break with the norm or I won't say the tradition, and try and ensure that you are creating that environment for people to think and express themselves freely. So, that's really it. As I said to you, I think the big thing with the technology's here and it's now. The next big chapter going forward is how it's going to be used, and that's really exciting, because because as much as your creative idea may be, in all likelihood there'll be some technology that'll make it a reality. Yeah. So that's where I see it. Yeah. See it heading.
Exciting times.
Yeah, it is. Very, very.
Thank you very much for your time, Chris.
An absolute
pleasure. I really look forward to seeing what these new products are over the next 12 to 18 months. Look forward to maybe even chatting again about what some of these innovations are in the market. Because I love this technology. I love what you guys are doing. So I think it's been a great journey so far, and I certainly think that you guys have still got a long way to go.
Thank you, Tanya.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.